Hello and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to another live Manchester United news and general football chit chat show, talking transfers, maybe a bit about the takeover, but I don't want to talk about it because we just know nothing's going to happen until after the FA Cup. However, this honestly, the amount of fake news I see on this takeover, okay? I do videos on the takeover. I will only report things that come from a genuine source. Even if I think that what the genuine source is saying is just PR crap, the Glazers have fed to them, we'll talk about what genuine sources say. But there's generally non-genuine sources saying this and that about the takeover, and just ignore it. I'm just going to say that on the takeover. Until after the FA Cup, I doubt anything's going to happen. People just like to make up fake news. And look, we get journalists who get briefed the wrong things as part of PR, but they actually have a source. I mean, we have random accounts. I'm talking hundreds of accounts just tweeting stuff on the takeover that aren't like they don't get the information from anything. They're in their bedroom and they go, "Oh, I'm going to tweet this." Like there was that Ross Harwood guy who used to go, "Jadon Sancho's been really naughty and Ten Hag hates him," and then Ten Hag's like, "No, Sancho's struggling. He's going through a lot." So many idiots online. But there's a lot of transfer news. First deal is done. Manchester United have their first agreement this summer. Diego Dalot tied down to 2028 as well. Rumours of Veiga. Is that how I say his name? I honestly, I don't know much about this kid. I surprisingly don't watch Celta Vigo. I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched this kid. I've watched a highlight reel of this kid. I don't think I've watched it. Maybe I've watched the game he's been in. I'm not sure. But Veiga to Manchester United is a big report coming out today. Basically, there's a lot of reports saying he's basically on the verge of joining Newcastle. So all of a sudden, he gets linked with United, and apparently United are going to sign him and hijack that deal from Newcastle. I think it's like the Ugarte news, who's going to go to Chelsea, where player is going to move to a Premier League club. Player is close to moving to a Premier League club. There needs to be a bid. There needs to be agreement. Let's put our agent. Let's do some agent talk and link the player to United. Gabby Veiga, I think, will go to Newcastle, and I think that they're using United's name for clicks, but also an agent will use United's name to try and scare Newcastle into hurrying up and getting that done. I think that's the same with Ugarte to Chelsea. There's a lot of transfer news about United today. Mason Mount news is genuine. Harry Kane news is genuine. Diogo Costa news is genuine. Jurriën Timber news is genuine. We got an interest. Rabiot news, we generally got an interest. Kim Min-jae news is genuine, and we generally got an interest. Stories like Veiga, I mean, I think it's just agent talk. Like, it's come from sources that are real, but I think it's agent talk. I think, again, Ugarte news, very much agent talk. I think Højlund, there's some interest there, but I'm not sure if United are going to pursue that because they're so focused on the striker that's ready now. I think Frimpong is genuine. Like, there's players that we're linked to that we're generally interested in, and there's players that we're linked to that I think is agent talk, and I'll break that down in a second. Hi, Alice. Apparently your tweet got famous Sport Bible reposting it regarding Man City away record. Yeah, that tweet actually blew up. I've got like 2 million views. I've been on ESPN. I've been on Sport Bible. I've seen loads of accounts nab my tweet as well and just post it because you get that a lot. Alice's tweet famous today. Also, Man City on the verge of signing Kovacic. Basically, all like Arsenal going to sign Rice. Liverpool about to sign McAllister. City about to sign Kovacic. Newcastle about to sign Veiga, who we are linked to, and I will talk about that in just a second, but I think we're just being linked to him to hurry up Newcastle. Every one of our rivals is doing something, but what are we doing? Nothing. Are we shocked, though? Are we shocked? No. The saddest part is we all knew this was coming. We all knew we were going to sit here, and well, we are working quite heavily on the Mount deal, but I'm not sure if an agreement can be official till after the takeover. However, then Dalot signed a new contract. I'm not sure. United are working heavily on the Mount deal, and maybe we'll get some news about Mount. But it's like all our rivals are doing stuff, and I feel like we're not doing enough. But then this is the story of every summer. When has United ever been quick, got business done early? Never. We're useless. Absolutely useless. We'll talk about my tweet, actually. I've got a mad reaction to my tweet, actually. And then I was just bumming it short. Where is my tweet? Yeah, I literally tweeted this. Blah, 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 blah. Got 2.2 million views. And then the next thing you know, I was on like ESPN and Sport Bible. Like, what can I say, guys? Too famous now. I think it was ESPN. I think it was. Yeah, look at this. It's my lovely tweet here. And I've got a load of angry Man City fans atting me. Like, yo, we won the title. Like, shut up, Alice. Shut up, Alice. Shut up, Alice. I'm like, I was just tweeting it because it was a fact. All I was doing was, I get that it won't be spoken about because it's Man City, but Man City's away record is not much better than United's. I have a brain, and Man City are on the verge of winning a treble, so it's not super important. But if Man United were on the verge of winning a treble, they would still be talking about our away record. We could have won the league, we could be in a Champions League final and FA Cup final, and they'd be bringing up Man United's away record all over the media. No one even knew that Man City hadn't beat any of the top 9 other than Arsenal. No one. And if they did know that, it's not interesting to report in the media because it's City. My point was, I'm not, obviously City could win the treble, so it's not super important. But my point was, if it's Man United or it's Arsenal, they will look for something to tweet. The media will look for something to say. Man United could be on the verge of winning a treble. Arsenal could be on the verge of winning the treble, but because they hadn't beat one of the top 9 away, the media would push and push and push that. They're not going to push that Man City don't have a good away record against the top 9. Now, obviously, it isn't as awful as ours. I know that we lost 7-0, 6-3, 4-0. Like, our away record versus the top 9 is way worse than theirs. But I always think things are always spoken about if it's Man U or if it's Arsenal. If it's Man City, it gets brushed under the rug like they're 117 FFP charges. But yeah, Alice wound up a few people. I tell you that. Tell you what, wound up a few City fans. But I mean, I wasn't wrong. They lost to Tottenham. They lost to United. They drew to Newcastle. They beat Arsenal, which I guess is the most important game. They lost to Brentford, which you can say isn't important. They lost to Liverpool. They drew to Villa and they drew to Brighton. The only team they beat in the top 9 is Arsenal. And yeah, a few people having a go at me for that as well. Frimpong can be DM. Not sure about that. Manchester United linked everyone. Yet we are. Gundogan out, Kovacic in. I think it's smart business. Kovacic to Chelsea, Kovacic to Man City. Cheap, good player. Pep will get the best out of him. I still think Gundogan's a better player though. Is it an upgrade? Is it a downgrade? I don't know. We'll have to see. Pep can do wonders as well. We've got 400 people watching, guys, so please do smash that like button. And, of course, subscribe down below if you're new as well. And just read that United apparently to send an early bid for Kane. And I read that as well, actually. I was going to talk about that. It looks like Man United want to do something very quick and make a move quick for Harry Kane. I'll get into the news in just a second. Man United might be linked to Maddison now because it said Newcastle looks set to renew their interest in James Maddison. Tottenham and United have also shown interest though, and he's not been in contact since the season's come to an end. I think if we don't get Mount, this is one potentially we look at. I think if Newcastle are the favourites to sign Maddison, but if they sign this Veiga guy, will they sign Maddison? Now, I just want Newcastle to sign McTomminay, give us 30 million and get McTomminay off our hands. I don't want Newcastle to be signing midfielders. I'm worried that we're going to be stuck with McTomminay next season. I really am. Man United meant to be the most valuable club in the world, etc., etc., etc. We will dive into the news. I'm just making sure nothing interesting has broken. Obviously, FA Cup final. Obviously, Chelsea losing a lot of players. Oh yeah, I saw the guys. Did you see this? Gabby Abonahor does a Premier League flop 11. His formation is like a 3-2-5. Like his formation is like a 3-2-5. Like Danny Ward flop, Cucurella flop, Davinson Sanchez flop, Tielemans flop, Fabinho flop. Where's Calvin Phillips? Not in there. Mudryk massive flop. McKennie, yeah, he's been a flop. João Felix, he's been like Chelsea's better player, but not been worth the money. Weghorst has been a flop, but there was no expectations for Weghorst, so is he technically a flop? Because we all knew he was going to be crap. Anthony, if you watched Anthony play, he's not worth the money. He's not worth anywhere near the money, but I wouldn't say Anthony's a flop because I feel for the most part, we've been a better team when Anthony plays. There's flop being, they've completely flopped and they've had a dreadful season, and there's just being not worth the money. Anthony is not worth the money. Had Anthony cost £30 million, we'd be saying, okay, it's a decent deal. Yes, he cost £80 million, the same as Maguire. So I feel like with Anthony, it's not like it's. I just wouldn't say he was a flop. Richarlison, I get. But when does Gabby Abonahor know anything about football? Yeah, nothing. I think TalkSport are really smart. I always say TalkSport are such a smart business because they'll get knowledgeable, likable, genuine like pundits that you want to listen to, like McCoist and Laura Woods, so people actually want to listen to them. But then they also need to keep their interactions up. They need to keep the attention span on them. Then they need to get Wallies on, and they get someone like Gabby Abonahor that knows nothing. John T, congrats on your new fame. And I was joking around with my mates because I was on Sport Bible. I was like, sorry, can't talk to you now. But did wind up some Man City fans. We'll scroll down in the chat as well. Cover is talented, but injuries, I agree as well. It's interesting you point out away records, but it ends where you finish, and that's what you win with, and that's the most important. And that's the thing. At the end of the day, you know, with Man City's away record, they've won the league, so it's not that thing. I have heard that Frankie de Jong will join United. I heard that all last summer. It didn't happen. The thing is, unless this is the thing, I want De Jong. I dream of De Jong. De Jong, Moises Caicedo. Like I would, one of those two players. I'd love it. But I know that De Jong's probably not going to happen. Although Barca need to sell, and I've come to the point where I was speaking about Frankie de Jong from April last year to the end of August. 4 months of my life wasted talking about Frankie de Jong probably every single day last summer. That unless Fabrizio Romano or David Ornstein goes breaking, Frankie de Jong is on the verge of joining United. I just cannot discuss any transfer rumours regarding de Jong to United. I cannot. I don't think it's going to happen as well. McTomminay and 50 million for Bruno Guimaraes. I like Bruno Guimaraes, but I doubt Newcastle would give a direct rival their top asset. The problem is, even though Spurs aren't really a rival because they're dreadful, we are a rival of Spurs and they don't want to give us Kane. It said that Spurs, Daniel Levy will sell Kane abroad for £80 million, but United would have to spend at least £130 million to get Kane for him to even consider it, which is just crazy. But apparently, and this was said by The Sun, so it wasn't said by the most reliable source, it wasn't said by the best source, it was said by The Sun, that Kane doesn't want to go abroad, he wants to go Man United and only Man United, and will push for a United move, but it was said by The Sun. Stormzy, big up Stormzy, says Liverpool are set to sign Manu Kone, Thuram, McAllister, and Mickey Van de Ven, and we are sat with Kane and Mason Mount. Well, Harry Kane's a world-class player, but yeah, Matt, look, I'll say this with Mount, and I've said this multiple times. Mason Mount isn't a bad player. He was Chelsea's player of the season 2 seasons in a row. He helped them win the Champions League. He's had a poor season, but he's still showing glimpses in this season. Mason Mount isn't a bad player. The thing is, Manchester United want to play a midfield with Casemiro, DM, and 2/8s. And I see why Ten Hag wants Mason Mount to do that. But for £50 million with 1 year left on his contract off the back of a bad season, is that smart business? Probably not. But if Ten Hag really wants him, then we'll go for him because we have to back the manager. The problem with Mason Mount is we've got issues defensively. We've got issues with ball retention, collecting we need a volume passer, controlling games. If Man United sign Mason Mount, I don't have a problem with it as long as we sign another good top midfielder. If we sign Mason Mount and Declan Rice, or we sign Mason Mount and Moises Caicedo, I am very happy with us signing Mason Mount. But if we sign Mason Mount and think that's going to solve our midfield issues, it won't. Because Mason Mount, Casemiro, Bruno, as a midfield three, I don't like. Now, it works in some games. If we're looking to dominate possession, it works. But if you're going away to the Etihad with Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes, and Casemiro, I think they run through us because defensively, ish. If you've got a Moises Caicedo, you've got a Declan Rice, or you've got a player that can potentially play as an inverted fullback, which Moises Caicedo has done recently for Brighton, starting at right back and moving into the midfield, it can potentially work. Because you could even play Casemiro, Bruno Mount, and Moises Caicedo at right back, and you bring him into the midfield to give that defensive support to Casemiro. Then you actually play 3 at the back in game. You can do that, and that works because then the midfield is there. And I think Mount, Bruno, Casemiro works in the smaller games where we're going to dominate possession. But if we're not going to dominate possession, we're going away to Anfield, we're going away to the Etihad, you're going to need a Declan Rice, you're going to need a Moises Caicedo as well. So my feeling is I have no issue with us signing Mason Mount as long as we go and get a defensive-minded midfielder on top of that. Someone that could play in Casemiro's role and someone that could play in that Mason Mount role. Someone that is, because Fred's defensively better than Mount, but Mount's a lot better on the ball than Fred. We need someone with good defensive qualities that ideally could be back up to Casemiro. I think Lavia would be a good shout of a signing as a Casemiro backup. Not sure if he could do the role next to Casemiro. We'll have to wait and see potentially. I mean, if I was United, and I don't think we will, but United have always liked to break the bank for Moises Caicedo. For me, it's all about that as well. Anyway, scrolling down on the chat as well, Kane won't come to United. He's too loyal to Spurs, just my opinion. Everyone hates United and we're used to it. I think Kane wants a trophy, and I think Kane realised he scored 30 goals and won't be playing in Europe. I think Kane wants out Spurs because he was going to push a move to City. Remember, he was kind of pushing a move to Man City at one point as well. Anthony had a decent season in defence well. Yeah, I don't think Anthony's had a poor season as well. Caicedo, Kim and Jagan, Carlo Ramos, Frimpong and Mount we have to go for. I agree. If we do not get Kane, I'm going to go from Gonzalo Ramos. And look, Osimhen's the obvious one, but we're not going to get him. I've kind of accepted that. I'd be really shocked if we got him. If we got him, fantastic. But we're talking £150 million. That's a lot of our budget. I agree with this. I mean, like, other options I would consider is maybe Timber. I'd consider potentially looking at Jurriën Timber, and I'd look at maybe a goalkeeper as well. But scrolling down into the chat as well, Anthony's first season in the Premier League has to be factored in by evaluating the player. Next season is the real judge for it. Exactly. And I've always said that first season in the Premier League is hard to judge. I think Anthony's not been a flop. I don't think he's been worth the money, but I see some glimpses of what he can do. I think United have looked better when Anthony plays because he stretches the width. Jadon Sancho is really growing and playing better. I actually like Jadon Sancho on the right wing at the moment. This is next season's a big season for Anthony and Jadon Sancho. The only reason I know Sancho's had one more season than Anthony, but Sancho's obviously had some off-field issues that other players don't have to deal with. So, he's had a bad year and struggled with some stuff, which we know of. So obviously, I get with Sancho, it's been a bit iffy. Now we need more from Sancho, and I think next year I will judge Sancho. I watched Dortmund Sancho, and how good Sancho can be. Not quite seen it, but what we've seen from Sancho is him starting to get a run of games and is starting to get better and better. The last 2-3 games he's been better. The only problem with Sancho is he like a Pereira in the sense of when it's pre-season or when it doesn't matter, he plays like a 10 out of 10. That was what Pereira did. But when it does matter, is he going to shy away potentially when the pressure's on him? I think he's a confidence player. I think he's a pressure player. But I think that the fans are really getting behind Sancho. He's ended the season on a high. I think next season is the year we judge Sancho. I also think next season is the year that we judge Anthony. And I think Sancho, Anthony, Amad Diallo, all competing for that right wing spot, should bring the best out of one of them. But I will say this on Amad Diallo. I want to say this on Amad Diallo quickly before I get into other news. Is I think Amad Diallo, if you've actually watched him for Sunderland, because I watched a few games for Sunderland, I was talking to a Sunderland fan, but he's more so operated as a right-sided centre attacking midfielder. He's kind of a right-sided number 8. He kind of tucks in more centrally because he doesn't have that blistering pace. So it'll be interesting to see how Ten Hag utilises Amad Diallo, who's clearly part of Ten Hag's plans, apparently, although there was a report saying that he would leave. So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that. But I want to get back into some of the news and the transfer news as well. Weghorst was because of Glazer's mismanagement. I mean, people calling Weghorst a flop. Yes, he's rubbish, but just look at it and go, Liverpool got Gakpo. Tottenham got Danjuma, who I think is a good signing, not really played. Chelsea signed Mudryk, João Felix. Arsenal signed Trossard. Every single one of these rivals signed big money players in January. United didn't even sign a big money player. United did a loan deal. United did a loan deal for a championship level player because they couldn't get Gakpo and they lost Gakpo to rivals Liverpool, and they refused to spend 20 million on Felix, which, let's be honest, the loan fee for Felix and the wages is an absolute joke. But you messed up on Gakpo. He's gone to arch rival Liverpool. Ten Hag's second choice is Felix. You go, I don't care. This is a joke of a price, but let's just break the bank and pay the money it takes to bring Felix. Because look, Felix hasn't been fantastic at Chelsea, but I think Felix would have been fantastic at United and elevated United to that next level, 100%. We ended up without Weghorst, and that's embarrassing. And then we got Sabitzer on loan as well. But do you know what's mad is, as soon as Eriksen got injured, United went and got Sabitzer on loan. Yeah. But it was like we could have got a midfielder this whole window, but we only got one because Eriksen got injured. We could have got Sabitzer on loan. We could have got Amrabat on loan. I think it was you know what I mean. We could have got him on loan as well. But United only decided to act on loan deals once they knew Eriksen was injured. And for me, that just sums up Glazeronomics 100% as well. What is Mount agreed? Mount is not agreed, but I do think that if I was going to put money on who our first official news signing will be, it'll be on Mount. I think Mount would be the first signing. Alex said, I'd rather put the Mount funds towards Caicedo. Caicedo is Casemiro cover, physical weight, all in one signing. Yeah, I mean, look, my number one priority this summer would be Moises Caicedo. 21 years of age, can play right back, can play DM, can play centre mid. Is so young, he can be involved into kind of any kind of player. I would break the freaking bank for Moises Caicedo, who, bear in mind, is a United fan. I used to say he dreamed of coming United. If I'd decide, and I know we need a striker, and I know we need maybe defensive reinforcement, potentially a goalkeeper, and I know that striker really is the number one priority, but I just would break the bank for Moises Caicedo, because if we don't get Kane, there are other options. There's Victor Osimhen, there's Gonzalo Ramos, there's Dusan Vlahovic, there's Højlund. Now, look, some of those options and a lot of those options won't have the same impact as Kane, but we'll be creating a lot of chances and they will score their chances. you know, for me, I would generally go out all out. I'll say this now for Moises Caicedo. He would be my absolute priority. Guys, we're on 102 likes, so please do smash that like button if you have not already as well. Casemiro, Caicedo, Bruno midfield 3 would be class. Mount of Frankie de Jong. I mean, look, I'd love Frankie de Jong, but we know it's not going to happen. Hope United can get Lavia. Now, we were linked to Lavia. I can't find it. Let me see what the story was again, because it was only a little story. People you follow, was just me talking about Lavia. Well, I do follow me. It was said, I think this was it here. My talk spot. It was said, Ten Hag could look to sell Fred this summer and look for a younger midfielder. It said Mason Mount is the favoured choice, but moves for Declan Rice, Romeo Lavia, and Alexis McAllister have not been ruled out. Now, I don't know if this would mean on top of Mason Mount, but it was said that, you know, United are potentially looking at this player. Chelsea's focus is Ugarte. So I think Spurs could make a move for Lavia. I think they could. I think Chelsea could, because Chelsea will just buy everyone, but I'm not, especially if they lose Mount. I think Liverpool could make a move as well for him on top of McAllister. I think Arsenal could. But it's someone to look at, and it was said that United are potentially having a look at him as well. Get Moussa Diaby. Right wing isn't a priority, especially with Ahmad coming back as well. Priority 2 centre forwards. I mean, look, if I was, you know, okay, let's say Man United did a madness and they did a Todd Boehly spend. If let's say Sheikh Yassim comes in and does a Todd Boehly, I'd be going for Harry Kane and Gonzalo Ramos, both of them. Although if he's Gonzalo Ramos is pricey, I would get Højlund. I'd be going for Kane as number 1, and then a younger striker like Gonzalo Ramos and Højlund as number 2. I'd then sell Martial because we've got 2 strikers. I would then go break the bank for Moises Caicedo, absolutely break and rinse the bank for Moises Caicedo. And then I would try, instead of Mounts, well, actually, if Ten Hag wants Mount, would sign Mount because Ten Hag wants Mount. Personally, I would look at someone like Enzo Laffi. And then after that's done, you go for Kim Min-jae, you go for Timber, you go for Diogo Costa. Boom. That's what I'd do if it was like FIFA. But it's not like FIFA. And I don't think we're going to have a top value spend as well. We don't need Maddison. He isn't our priority. A priority is a striker, then central defender, then defensive midfielder, and lastly, modern goalkeeper. I do think we need a midfielder, but I do think we need someone to play that Eriksen role. And we need someone who can do that Eriksen role with good ball retention, who's a little bit more defensive-minded. So I get what you mean to a sense as well. Caicedo is a class passer, underrated, improving ball carrier on top of being a defensive beast. Caicedo is just my dream as well. Any news on Enzo Laffi? I mean, there's not really news on him. Like, we want him, but like, I think it's more one of those where United have looked to him, but have United looked to him, or has people just linked him to United because they know we want a midfielder? But he's one of those that we're all talking about. Look, we're all talking about Enzo Laffi. It's 1 L, isn't it? Enzo Laffi. What am I saying? I don't know why I've done 2 L's here. We've all been talking about Enzo Laffi here. Like, every United fan, as you can see, like, these are just people I follow, talk about Enzo Laffi, etc., etc. But in terms of actually links to United, there's not really been many. It's more one of those where us fans have been talking about it. So then a journalist links him to us. But I generally don't think United look at Enzo Laffi. We are looking at Orkun Koku. We are looking at that guy there. I know that, like, that's come from genuine reports. But in terms of Enzo Laffi, not much has been said. He like Romano said, he will leave Lorient here. Like, that's pretty much confirmed. He will leave his club. But no one really knows where he'll go. Like, he's ready to leave his club, but he's not been super linked to United as well. Romano again says here, I'm not aware of any contract between United and Laffi. He obviously said, I know these last few months are very important. He wants to move to a big club. United fans want him. It's a very cheap bargain deal, and I'll look at doing this. But as far as I'm aware, like, United, I don't think will sign him or do anything or make any moves for him as well, to be honest as well. Do you have the goal app, Alice? I really like goal. I don't have the goal app, but I should look at doing something like that as well. I've got Højlund and Tony on top. Add Caicedo. Well, I can't get Tony at the moment, but it's a shame that it's banned so long as well. Squad in depth is key. Erik ten Hag will probably look to double up on errors, and that's what Erik ten Hag said in his interview. Erik ten Hag did an interview the other day. He's done loads of interviews, and he said, you know, it's not just about getting elite players, but you need 2 really good players in each position. 2 really good players in each position is what Erik ten Hag said, because he said depth is what you need. But obviously, Man City in talks with Kovacic. But I saw something interesting that might affect Man City, and I want to talk about this, but I will get into the Kane news in a second. I think I liked it, so I can get this back up. 1 sec, if I can find it. We will talk about Diogo Costa and the goalkeeper situation. Romano has touched upon that. We will talk about this guy. This guy is linked to United. This guy's been heavily linked with Manchester United today. It's said that he's going to go to Newcastle reportedly. This player right here on my screen, who is in the thumbnail, has really, really heavily been linked to Manchester United. United apparently are going to do some hijack. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's going to go to Newcastle. I think it's agent talk, but we'll cover that in just a minute. I'm trying to find, there's a story I'm looking for that I can't find. This is another player that United are looking at. Brazilian starlet Marcos Leonardo is attracting interest from Premier League sides, with Man United, Arsenal and Newcastle keeping tabs on the Santos striker. I want to talk about this. I will get into the City story, but basically I wanted to find a story, and I've got it written down somewhere, about new Premier League rules, which would mean Man City and Chelsea couldn't spend as much money as they've been spending, which means it would give United advantage, etc., etc. But I wanted to quickly talk about this story. I've been saying for a while, I think United need to sign the first team players, but also look at those hidden gems in South America. Moises Caicedo was 5 million, Julian Alves would have been 16 million, Enzo Fernandez would have been 12 million. United need to look for a Casemiro understudy and a young striker in Argentina, Brazil, Uruguay, those South American countries. Bring in a young striker like City did with Julian Alvarez. Bring in a young midfielder like Brighton did with Enzo Fernandez. United need to, not Enzo Fernandez, Moises Caicedo. But United need to sort out it, get a proper midfielder in, get a proper striker in, get a proper centre-back in, get a proper goalkeeper in. But they should be looking at those £10 million little deals in South America. And this, I don't watch this player. I don't know much about this player, But, players like Alan Varela, let's have a look at that one. Let's pursue that. I think this is something United need to start doing if they, and then, just loan them out. Man City buys so many young players and they loan a lot of them out. And a lot of them might be good Premier League players like Lavia, but Man City, they're not going to cut it at Man City, but at least they make their money back. There was a player we were linked to called Stefan something. And then he went to City and I think he was Serbian or something. He won't be a City player, but they'll get him for 5 million. They'll loan him out. He becomes a top young player. They sell him for 20 million. It's just even smart things like that. You take the risk and then you loan them out and you nurture them properly. So even if they don't end up being a top player, at least you can make some more money on them by selling them onto a top club as well. Sancho on the right is a must. We will talk about the FA Cup final. No Martial, shock. Anthony's a doubt. Sancho's got to play on the right. 100% agree. Nacho on the left. Rashford's striker. Got Sancho on the right. You're agreeing with me there as well. Rayo's backup keeper. I would look at that £30 million as well. Everton also seeing that we're looking at Onana from Everton. I think now Everton stayed up, it will be a difficult one to do. But United are looking at Onana from Everton. So I'll keep an eye on that one. But again, I think we're very focused on Mason Mount. And I think if we get linked to another midfielder, it will be a defensive kind of centre one as well. Should defo not sell Ahmad, possibly PL loan if possible. I agree. We're selling Elanga reportedly, which I think it's an interesting one because I think Elanga could be a late bloomer. Ragnick saw something in Elanga in the academy. He was fantastic. I think there is something in Elanga. Now he's not going to be ready for United for 2 years, but I think Elanga one day, and I'll say this, I don't know if he'll be a United level player, but I think Elanga's one of those people I could see playing for Leverkusen and being a good player for Leverkusen, or Sevilla and being a good player for Sevilla, or I don't know, like a Wolves. I feel like he will be a decent Premier League level player. I really do think there's a future in Elanga. Maybe not at United, but United reportedly selling him for 10 million. I think we could get a bit more. I think we could push for 20 million. Really, I do. In my opinion, I think we can get a bit more. But I'm not opposed to selling Elanga. I think Ahmad's more exciting. I think Garnacho's more exciting. I think Pellistri's more exciting. And Elanga definitely needs to go out on loan next season, 100%. But it looks like United are looking to actually sell Elanga rather than loan him, which I thought was quite interesting as well. But I think, he's not quite Diallo and Garnacho level. It was said, I think Diallo still needs time. Too many wingers in the United squad just to prove it again. I think, look, if we could get him a good Premier League loan, if Brighton came to us and said, we want Amad Diallo on loan, I wouldn't mind it going to Brighton. If Everton said we want Amad Diallo on loan, I'd tell them to F off, because I think Everton's not a club you want to go to. His Rangers loan was dreadful, but his Sunderland loan was fantastic. It's not just about the Premier League club, but it's about, will this be the right club for Amad Diallo? Brentford. I say this now, Brentford should look at Amad Diallo on loan. They should. Alice, my ideal midfielder would be Moises Caicedo or Frankie de Jong. That would be my ideal midfielder. I don't know why I said Alice, but you said Alice. Qatar has needed a new owner. Look, we've got a lot of news about Qatar, a bit of news about Neymar. Neymar's one I keep an eye on. I don't know what will happen with Neymar, but it's it's very Man United. It is very Man United, where we don't think we're going to sign Neymar, and then all of a sudden they decide to sign Neymar. Man United signing a 30-year-old big name star, it's very Man United. So I wouldn't rule out Neymar to United, but I think it's one of those where Ten Hag's not bothered by it, but the board are like, oh, Neymar, look how many shirts he can sell, and strumming themselves to it. You know what the board's like. So I'll keep an eye. I'll let you know if we do get any big updates on Neymar. I'm really waiting, because obviously the Neymar news has come out from all right sources. Like, they're not bad sources, but they're not like your top sources. So if we got a story on Neymar from Ornstein, Romano, Simon Stone, Nori Whitwell, like if we got a story on Neymar from a real good journalist, then I would report on it a bit more. I think Neymar's just one to just keep an eye on in the background, but not a real focus of now. I think United could still get Rice potentially, but I think he will go to Arsenal. I think he 100% go to Arsenal. I know he loves Chelsea, but it looks at Arsenal. Casado's only 21 years old. Anything for 17, 90 million is quality for sure, and I agree, 100% agree. Everyone says we need Qatar. We do need Qatar, because I don't want Sir Jim. I don't want the Glazers staying. 2 centimeters would be ideal. I agree. Michael says Rice is a no from me. Rice, I couldn't say no to Declan Rice. Do I think he's overpriced? Yes, but do I think he's an unreal player? Yeah. Declan Rice is a fantastic player. I really think Declan Rice is a fantastic player, but he's a little bit overpriced, but that's what you get for being English. Someone asking about Donny. I think Donny will leave. I love Donny. I feel sorry for him. It's not worked out at United, but it's probably better for him to leave. I think Ten Hag would use him, but not loads. And I think he would have played a fair bit this season had he not got injured because of the issues with Eriksen and Casemiro's suspensions. I think we would have seen Donny play a fair few minutes, but yeah. DM tell Casemiro, look, we are so reliant on Casemiro. If Casemiro's a poor game, we're crap. But if Casemiro doesn't play, we're not as good. And we need someone that can potentially fill in that Casemiro role if there's an issue. Man City signed Calvin Phillips, who, yes, has been useless, but at least they've got someone who can actually play DM if something happens to Rodri. And that's what United need to do with Casemiro. We need, like, on top of Mount, we need someone that can play that Casemiro role as well. Casado isn't going to happen, though. I'm going to keep an eye on it, because McAllister will go Liverpool. I think Rice will go to Arsenal. Chelsea, I don't think Casado will want to go to Chelsea. I don't think he'd want to go to Spurs. I think he'd rather spend one more season at Brighton. I think it could maybe happen in August. It could be one of those late deals we do. Because we've not been heavily linked to him now, but United always have been linked to him the last 2 summers. We do like him. We were very keen on him. He's a player that United like. But I don't see anything happening soon. But I think it's one to keep an eye on, because he will want to leave Brighton as well. I would get João Felix in a goal scorer. If we sign, I wouldn't sign João Felix as our striker to fix our problems, because we're not scoring enough goals. But if we did sign a top striker and we needed a backup, I would sign João Felix as a backup. The problem is João Felix would be like an £80 million backup, because he's crazy overpriced and he's not worth it. Neves is available. I think he's a good bench player, Neves, but I think if you want to elevate us to that next level, we want someone that we know is going to be a starter. Now, he's better than McTomminay, but I think he's Eriksen level. We need someone that's elite for me. We need someone that I'm like Casado, De Jong, someone that is going to take us to that next level. And I think Neves to me is a bench player. I think he's a good player, but I think he's a bench player. Davis just can't see Lafia happening. I don't see Lafia happening. I'm really far behind on the chat again. Because I'm reading out so many chats. I'm like 10 minutes behind as well. We need a sporting director who can collab with Ten Hag. Like the last year, Ten Hag wants Anthony when the price was 50 million, but the board waiting to it. Yeah, 100%. We need a sporting director that can work with Ten Hag that knows what they're doing. 100%. I mean, yeah. Let me scroll down. I'm so behind on the live chat. I'm reading like live chats like 10 minutes old as well. Alice, what's the latest on the takeover? Honestly, there's so much fake news that I think nothing will happen until after the FA Cup. It's just a lot of fake news as well. Latest share price is 18.50. If the share price bounces up, I will say this now, if we see a big shoot up in the share price, hint for Qatar. If we see a big shoot down in the share price, hint for Sir Jim, because there will be a few people that might know about it just before us, and the share price could potentially, before some news comes out as well, if I'm being honest. Lautaro Martinez is best for United. We were linked to Lautaro Martinez, but I think he's just, okay, let's link to United to a striker. We've not been linked to him by loads of sources or loads of credible sources, but potential Lautaro Martinez could happen as well. Alice, if Ten Hag really wants Kane, offer Levy 100 million, take it or leave it. Yeah, I generally go. I think Kane is really 80 million pounds. You know what? I would go to Levy and I'd say Martial, 80 million pounds, take it or leave it, Harry Kane. That's what I'd do. and I'd say we'll have him on a free next summer. So this is your chance to get a striker in. Yes, it's Martial, and £80 million. That's what I'd say. Eriksen's a 3.5 star player. We need a 4 out of 5 minimum. Yeah, Eriksen's very good bench option, very good bench depth. Thing with Eriksen is if he plays once a week, he's good. If he plays in a game where we dominate possession, he's good. But if we're not dominating possession, you can't rely on Eriksen. And if he's playing twice a week, he doesn't have the cardio to do that. So we need someone in that Eriksen role. And I like Eriksen, but we do. Amma deserves a chance next season. He has improved and has a lot to gain. I do think Amma deserves a chance as well. And Hyans, I think Manchester United should invest in new players in South America, cheap Brazilian league. I agree. Why would Spurs take Martial on whose wages and horribly injury prone? Yeah, that is my point. I'd offer 80 million plus Martial. Do you know who I think Spurs would take? Now, I don't think Spurs would take Martial, but I think Spurs would take Harry Maguire. I do think Spurs would take Harry Maguire because they need a centre back. He can play in a back three. I would be looking at Harry Maguire for Spurs. What I wanted to do quickly is get up the what was I going to do? Yeah, I want to just get on into this news, but I do think one to keep an eye on would be if we are going to use a player in a swap deal, I'd maybe offer 70 million and Harry Maguire to Spurs. Maybe 70 million Harry Maguire to Spurs could be an option. Now, this is a player that Manchester United are reportedly looking to sign, Gabriel Veiga. Manchester United are interested in Gabriel Veiga, who has a 40 million release clause. Gabriel Veiga is open to joining all the clubs interested in him, which includes United. It is certain that the player won't stay at Celta Vigo. This guy won't stay at Celta Vigo. Real Madrid has shown an interest in him. Man City have shown an interest in him. Newcastle have shown an interest in him. Lots of credible reports saying he's close to joining Newcastle. All of a sudden, today, he's getting linked to United. United wants him. United to go for him. United to go for him. I think this is agent talk. I think this is a fantastic young player. He's a very exciting young player, and I think 40 million euros is an absolute steal from what I'm hearing about him. I've not watched him a lot. I've watched comps of him. From what I'm hearing about, this is a very good player. But I'm reading the Newcastle news, and this is good sources saying he's probably going to go to Newcastle, which makes me feel that either United don't want to lose out on him and 10 wants him and we're going to swoop in for him, but I don't think that's the case because we're focusing on Mason Mount, and I think that this could be agent talk to hurry that deal along to Newcastle. So as interesting as this story is, I do think this guy will probably go to Newcastle as well. Garnacho's been a great super sub, I agree. City signing Kovacic, they'll win the UCL next year because of the Croatian curse. Does Inter have a Croatian player? Does Inter have a Croatian player? Because I feel like there's been a Croatian player win the league for the next 10 years. Ugarte, I think, is agent spin as well. Seems Spurs have taken their stance. Either sell Kane abroad or it's worth more to them to keep than sell to a rival. Yeah. The only thing is Daniel Levy would not want to lose Kane on a free to a rival the following year. So maybe he'll cash in if he thinks that Kane will go on a free as well. We're just going to check that there's no more breaking news before I get into the next story on Kane, on some of the transfer news and more as well. Jadon Sancho, this is an interesting thread here. Jadon Sancho's Premier League campaign was much better than you think. A thread of 5 main topics: charge retention, ball carrying, goal threat, defensive actions. I do think Sancho's had an all right season in the end. He's definitely grown, but we need more from Sancho. We see, I can't be asked to read the thread, but we see that Garnacho comes on the pitch, instantly makes an impact, takes on his man from inside the box to outside the box, makes things happen. I think Sancho can play it too safe, and while I think that Sancho's growing every game, and I think that next season could bring the best out of Sancho, especially with a top striker, because Sancho could have about 5 more assists to finish the chances he creates, and especially with maybe an overlapping fullback, and we kind of recreate that Dortmund system and playing Sancho on the right with his confidence, we could see Sancho elevate and hit that next level. 100%. I do think that Sancho is a decent player, but I think the one thing that he misses is, can he make that impact as well? Someone said Garnacho out. Why? Brozovic. That's it. Come on, Inter. You know what? If we win the FA Cup and Inter win the Champions League, oh my. I really want Harry Kane, but I think it will be difficult because of Levy. I agree. My option would be Diogo Costa, Bella Kotchap, Manuel Ugarte, Mason Mount, Ramos Højlund, Gonçalo Ramos, says Leaf. Bella Kotchap's an interesting one. I quite like him, but I'll be going for Kim Min-jae. I think because I want someone that's going to really give Varane competition, and I think Kim Min-jae can do that. To be honest, I think Kim Min-jae is a phenomenal player. I'd love him at United. Him or Timber. For me, I know Timber's small, but if we get a tall midfielder like Rice Don't think we will. I think we'll go to Arsenal to combat that. I don't think that Timber would be an issue. I think that Timber and Kim and Jay would be the two centre backs I want. And I think they're the two centre backs we've been linked with the most. Guys, please do keep smashing that like button, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talks if you're new. It's actually the Europa League final tonight, which we should really be playing in. But I just forget that it's the Europa League final because we're not in it, and it's irrelevant now to me. It's not relevant, but you know what I mean. But this was a story I wanted to talk about. It was actually said that UEFA are planning a fixed spending cap for clubs to run alongside revenue, which potentially could impact clubs like Chelsea and Man City from doing ridiculous spending, which I think is something that needs to happen. But, I mean, we have all these rules, and Man City will still find a way to cheat, bend the rules. And also, I will tell you this now, and we can come back to this, okay? Newcastle get rich Saudi owners, Chelsea get rich owners, and Manchester City get rich oil owners. Newcastle, Chelsea, Man City all get these rich oil owners. If we get Qatar and we get rich oil owners, then they will change the rules. That I genuinely believe that. If we have Sir Jim Ratcliffe, I don't see rules being changed. I don't see spending caps being put on for oil clubs, etc. I think they only change the rules if Man U get Qatar, because all these other clubs will have rich Arab owners. But when it comes to United, everyone panics because they generate the most money and then they're going to have the most money, and that is scary. Yeah. I generally think if we get Qatar, we'll see all these rule changes about spending, which Man City will still cheat and find a way around. But I generally do. I generally do. I think it's like if United do this, we need to change the rules. I wouldn't be shocked as well. Timber played like shite this season. I thought Timber was all right, to be honest. Wasn't as good as last season, but he wasn't bad as well. Hi, Alice. I think Manchester United should invest in new players in South America who are cheap and Brazilian league. I agree as well. I 100% agree. And Timber didn't have the best season, but he definitely improved. He wasn't one of the worst players as well. We need backup for Bruno in case when one of the two players can't play midfield. Not good. True. For me, look, United should sign Moises Caicedo and Mason Mount. For me, I'm just saying Mason Mount because that's who Ten Hag wants. I mean, I actually prefer Maddison, but Ten Hag clearly wants Mount, and I do think Mount could be our first signing. Buy Felix and Vlahovic to exchange Martial and Juve. The only thing is Vlahovic has been poor and Felix is not a goal scorer. I think I want more informed players. 5 goals and 5 assists for Enzo Lafia in League One. He's been fantastic little midfield, hasn't he, as well? FFP only applies to us, it seems. Chelsea spent $500 million with no Europe. City cooked books, and Newcastle's crazy spend benefits on their revenue. Yeah. FFP only applies to us. I think, do you know what annoys me is I feel like there's certain rules and it won't ever apply to United or someone like Arsenal. I feel like other clubs just get away with way too much, and they're only change the rules if we get oil owners, and they only apply to us and all of that as well. Because people just don't like United. That's what I think. I'll read. I don't think this is true, but I'll read this. I've seen this going around a lot. No matter what Darcy Glazer wants, the ultimate decision lies with Joe and Avram Glazer. It's obvious you're playing a role in the decision, as will the other Glazer siblings. But again, until a bid is increased by Sheikh Yassim, it remains a deadlock. So this is the Transfer Insider. I don't know if he's got legit. I don't know if he's a legit account. I don't know if it's a legit source. So I don't really keep an eye on it. And he's not saying anything that's probably wrong here. But there's these rumours going around with the takeover that Darcy Glazer is going to do this, and Darcy Glazer is selling to Qatar and all of that. And it's come from just a random Twitter account. And loads of people are talking about, but my source said that Darcy Glazer said this, blah, blah, blah about Qatar. Let's be honest. No one knows. There's non-disclosure agreements. We just know a decision will be made after the last game of the season. Could the decision be made after the last game of the season to stop a protest because Sir Jim's coming in or the Glazers are going to announce they're staying? Possibly. However, because of Qatar putting in this last-minute bid, because this deal was being stretched, could this just all be delayed because they're waiting for Qatar to pump more money in? Possibly. It's either the Glazers are delaying it because they know there'll be a protest when we find the outcome, so they want it to be done after the last game of the season, or they're delaying it and they're waiting for Qatar. I don't know what they're delaying for, but they are delaying it for, and we will know next week. That's what I will say on the takeover. I mean, if we get something coming this week, brilliant, but I don't think we will. I don't think we will, to be honest, as well. Guys, please do smash the like button, and of course subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new. I'm just making sure there's no sort of interesting news coming out before I do get into my final stories as well. Forbes have released an updated list for the most valuable clubs in the world, and United have come in at $6 billion, which is £4.8 billion, which the Glazers will probably be sending that to Qatar and direct message them. Do you know what they're like as well? Ugarte passes the eye test the most, and there's a common misconception that he can be understudy to Casemiro. He is a pure ball winner who can't defend space. He cannot play as a lone six. I think Ugarte would be a good option. I agree with you there, but I don't think he will come to United. He's very strongly linked to other teams. I think if United wanted him, they would be in for him now as well. Could be a target for West Ham as a Rice replacement, yeah, but not been super heavily linked to West Ham either, to be honest, has he? It looks like Chelsea, Tottenham, PSG in terms of him. In terms of other transfer news, Diego Dalot obviously signed a new contract, first deal done this summer. CFC Bayern said that Bayern Munich are winning the race for Dusan Vlahovic, but United and Chelsea are set to enter the race. It was also said that Kane will not be sold by a lot of sources, but United will go for Kane. It also said that United are very much interested in Jury and Timber, but they will prioritise a striker and midfielder first. It was said that Alanga could be up for sale. It said that McTomminay is likely to be sold. It will see what will happen. And that Harry Maguire and Ten Hag will be sitting down soon to discuss his future. All coming out in news today as well. Qatari FC says that Shitty bidded for 5.8 billion. But Qatari FC, I don't think have genuine sources. So I take what they say with a pinch of salt, if I'm being honest. They might have genuine sources, but I think they're quite clickbaity, you know. And thank you very much for the super chat by Kane, Rice, and if we have enough Mount PR proven. Full on Brexit, but I do think Kane and Rice would be fantastic signings. You know, I do love their English signings at the moment as well. They are loving their English signing as well. But anyway, hopefully we do get some takeover news coming in. I will wrap up the live stream in just a second. I just wanted to get this image up. This is what I want to see. An FA Cup final with us lifting a trophy. Qatar, or just nothing that involves the Glazers being here. And these 4 lovely signings is what I want to see this summer. That's what I want to see. And I'd also add like a right back and a young striker to that, but I was trying to be somewhat realistic. This is what we want to see in the summer, in my opinion. Dalot did sign a new contract. I'm not convinced on Dalot is injury prone and form is up and down. I agree. Look, I don't dislike Dalot, but I don't know if he's good enough. But he's young and Ten Hag believes in him, so we'll just have to see how it goes with Dalot, really. But I actually am preferring Wan-Bissaka to Diego Dalot at the Porton at the moment. Are we buying Kane? We will go all out for Kane. We desperately want Harry Kane, but it depends on Daniel Levy. It's like, you know, when we thought we were going to sign Sancho and Dortmund were being annoying. Could be like that. Could be Sancho again. And then we get him the next season for cheaper. We don't get him because Kane, you know, Spurs are being funny. We won't pay the price. We get him next season for cheaper, potentially. Listen, people, I'm going to wrap up today's live stream, so please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below to Alice Talks Football if you're new and share the video. I will be back live tomorrow evening, and there will be a video tomorrow morning on all the latest news. To stay up to date with everything going on with the takeover, transfers, and general Manchester United news, live shows, topics, and more, make sure you subscribe. Thanks, everyone, for watching today's live show. See you next time, and bye.